Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Joining me on the DevReady podcast today, I have Ryan Zahrai. Thanks, Ryan, for jumping on and joining me in an episode today.
Thanks for having me.
For those of you that are new here and haven't listened to this before, I do not know much about Ryan. We just had a couple minutes chat now just to figure it out, and I like to approach this fresh. So, along with all of you guys, so Ryan, I'll let you take it away and introduce everyone and let them know who you are and what you do.
Thanks, Anthony, and it's great to be part of the show. Yeah, in short, I'm a lawyer and I'm a founder of Z Law. Z Law is, first and foremost, a law firm. We service any kind of client from startup through to more sophisticated mid-tier clients. What we're finding is in the last 18 months or so, where Z's really kind of grown 10x in the last 18 months, which is like when I think about that, it's pretty insane.
It's ridiculous. It's
Um,
amazing
yeah,
result.
is that there's a big gap in the market for clients who are more sophisticated. When I say client, I don't even like using the word clients. I say businesses, CEOs, founders who are more sophisticated than the early stage startup, where they just need to be scrappy, young, and quick, and they need to have a bit more sophisticated support. The market that services that are usually like mid-tier firms of like 100 people, a lot of bloat, generally mid-tier lawyers, which I'm not disparaging, but they're not optimized to work fast. They haven't worked in a startup before. They've never understood the speeds of a high speed scale up, for example. And so they can't speak the same language, operate at the same pace. And so we have kind of filled that gap. And we're a small fit out. We're not a big team, but we're punching above our weight and getting a lot of these clients from that mid tier, 5 to 50 mil rev range, are the actual sweet spot, and they're loving kind of working with us. And that's how we're kind of growing. Now that changed. Initially, we were working with startups primarily. We were saying we're a startup firm, but we realized actually we kind of, this is our sweet spot around that scale up phase. The other stuff that we do is kind of corporate advisory work, which is relatively, we've been doing it for a while, but not formalized. So now we're
Yep. Okay.
formalized. And so what we do is we land debt, we land venture capital for clients, we broker new opportunities and enter into new markets. And by virtue of doing that, not through Z, but through a related separate entity, we basically crack open new opportunities in ways which I don't think many other corporate advisors can, because again, they're very corporate. They operate in the same way corporates do. We're operating like a startup, like we're aggressive. I think I'm probably undiagnosed ADHD, and we're just putting that all into a business so that clients can benefit, right? And
Yep.
so that's worked really, really well for us. And then we do light ticket investing. So pre-seed, seed, uh, small ticket through to probably max around 100K for the initial rounds.
Hmm.
That's something that we do. So we do it under the Z structure, so that Z itself becomes an investment house as well as a law firm and advisory group.
Yep.
People can raise all sorts of issues around conflict. Mate, just put that aside for a moment because we've addressed it and we've navigated it. It's
Yep.
more that we want to be close to the clients that we feel really that we want to back.
Yeah, you want to get behind them, see them grow, help
Yeah,
them. That's where you've got the other partner that can, your other entity that can come in. Like I think you mentioned, yeah, how do you like sort of cross pollinate all the different clients you're working with and help them all succeed together?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and we do a similar approach. So we've worked with a lot of different startups and different clients, and when we see a synergy with a partner in the network or someone in there, we'll put a recommendation out. We'll connect the two together. Don't have anything as formal as what you do with a whole organization and facilitating, but we'll make connections. And you want to see people succeed. You don't want people to struggle, especially if you know there's an opportunity there that can help someone.
Exactly. But we didn't put that formalization in place until literally like this month.
Okay,
Um,
so it's brand new.
for the last 3 years, yeah. So the goodwill that's out there by virtue of the opportunities that were cracked open for clients without us saying, "Hey, give us a cut," is massive, and that's obviously helped with Zed's growth. People refer work back, and there's a really strong ecosystem we've developed. Like for all the reasons why I didn't enjoy employment, those
Yep.
exact same reasons are the reasons why Zed's able to thrive now, because like in the ecosystem of entrepreneurs, business owners, and people who aren't necessarily in the VC network light, because that's a separate industry. It's quite like close knit, which is great as well. I love that community. But in the other community where people they've bootstrapped or they've funded through revenue or they've grown without accepting external funding, like it's a completely different network. And that's, I guess, the reasons, as I said, the reasons why I found it hard being an employee are the reasons why it's like my superpower here at Z and other businesses that we're launching. Like people acknowledge and love working with people that feel like, time's short, you're going to die tomorrow, so let's just get some shit done. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that synergy,
It's
exploration, and exploitation has been appreciated.
and having that as like a partner, you can rely on them. They got your back. You can work with
Yeah,
you. And that's what we've got a similar approach here. We become partners. We're not just a dev team that you go and talk to or a consultant. We're there. You can talk to us, bounce questions. We're on WhatsApp, we're on Teams, we're on email. Where you need to reach out, we're available to help and assist.
yeah,
So
great.
I think there's a lot of common things there that are probably both aligned to.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
what were you doing in previous history that sort of made you think, all right, this is not what I want to do anymore. I want to go to Stud Z.
Um, well, Zed, okay, so Zed's been around as an entity since 2014 in various
Right.
forms. So
Yep.
Zed was a consultancy when I was a lawyer at a
Hmm.
firm. So for the last, I formally qualified as a lawyer back in about 10, 12 years ago,
Yep.
um, and went to a big firm here in Sydney, which was great for training and great for exposure to some really wonderful legal talent. And I guess as part of that process where you're in a self-flagellation type culture of just like getting shit done, working crazy hours, that training kind of sits with you.
Yep.
I then I was asked by somebody in Israel to head over to Israel for 2.5 years to lead a legal function, which I inherited. And that was
Okay.
really, really interesting. That was part of a global non-governmental organization where you had international streams of work, and you had to advise on a bunch of matters, commercial, corporate, property disputes, and otherwise, which was a wonderful opportunity for me for a first real in-house experience.
Yep.
But that was out of Australia. Then I came back in 2018 after 2.5 years there and decided I did actually have a stint back at law firm, but I went in-house to after that to a private equity-backed healthcare company, and that was eye-opening. I.e., my first experience realizing that lawyers are not the smartest people in the room, right? You got people like yourselves, you got people like IT whizzes and people that understand how to.
Accessibility shortcuts, 23
What the
items,
hell?
voice guide,
Sorry,
off.
the technology in this room
That's all
is
right.
I don't know if you heard that, but the TV started talking to me. So you got people in the room, the CTOs, the CEOs, CXOs, and when you're sitting in the room with those people and founders and the business development guys, and you see how their mind work and tick, it is so much. Lawyers like to think in a linear fashion. This was anything but, and so it was a
Okay.
really wonderful opportunity to be exposed to that level of grey matter. And so going back to law firm really wasn't an option for me at that point. I went left from there to Eucalyptus, which is Australia's fastest growing and largest telehealth company that really boomed over COVID, and they've done a wonderful job of marketing themselves as a wonderful opportunity for people to access health without the restraints and barriers. And that was 2.5 years there. And then Zed at the same time was also growing on the side. And
Okay.
so for me, it was a decision to move into Zed full time because of the evidence that there was a gap in the market that wasn't being met. And we've done that for the last 15 months or 16 months now.
Oh, nice. And yeah, getting your 10x growth, you definitely found the right gap then.
Well, yeah,
It's
I
proven.
mean, I use that very off the cuff. 10x growth is
Oh, of
obviously
course.
because Zed was a side hustle since it's been a law firm since 2021.
Yep.
2014 was consultancy. 2021 was a law firm. 2021 to 2024 it grew, and then 2024 to today, so the last
Yep.
15 months, it's 10x. Obviously, that's
Yep.
because I've gone in full time as well.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. And if you've made 1 grand, you've made 10, you've 10x. Like,
Yeah.
there's obviously way more than that, but yeah, I understand. So it's good to see that growth and sort of like that journey. Um, I think that moment that you mentioned where you sort of realized you weren't the smartest person in the room, that's probably a bit of a thing with lawyers. I think in general, they think they're
Yeah.
generalization, but I think you align like yeah, they think they're the smartest, but there's everyone's smart. Like there's different experts in different streams, so it's not you're better than the other or someone else is smarter than the other because you don't know anything about that domain. You don't know anything. It's you have to be open to learn from others and take their ideas. And if you can remix things and combine things together, you're going to get a better outcome.
My view on this whole thing is completely changed and it's somewhat controversial, but like the way in which people usually measure smart is by virtue of some bullshit score, right? That
Yep.
could be the UAI or the HSC or whatever they call it now, or some examination score, whatever it may be. And lawyers usually perform well in those things because they can think linearly and they
Yep.
can address the criteria to be marked well, and then that translates into people thinking that they are the smartest people in the room, whatever, or for them thinking that that's the case. Now they might be very, very book smart, but that I think it's, one thing I've often said is you need to be smart to work in a law firm or work as a lawyer, but you need to be stupid to stay as one. And the reason why is once you soon realize that like you can only scale human hours up until a certain point, let's say
Yep.
maximum 18 hours a day, but you can't, but that as a business model is just um, by default limiting. And you speak to
Mhm.
other people who are finding cracks and opportunities in the market using tools, AI tech to scale beyond human limitations, then I consider that as far smarter.
Yep.
Um, when you're talking about bang for buck, or you're talking about impact to industry. So, yeah, my views change on that completely.
Yeah, it is limiting because you're running the taxi meter effectively. Unless the
Yeah,
time's clicking, you're not making money, and then
yeah,
that
exactly.
is limiting. Like you said, you've got 18 hours, and that's pushing it. You can't work for 18 hours a day.
Exactly. Exactly. I was being,
You can
being
be in the office for that long. You're not working that long, guaranteed.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can be the
It's
best Uber
impossible.
driver in the world, but if you own Uber, it's a very different story.
Yeah, completely. So, the business that you're working with, are you seeing a lot of stuff in the tech space, or is it just more general? Like, what sort of
Heaps. So
space?
so much. Like we're finding that there's a lot of at the moment, like the VC activity, so venture capital deployment of funds activities picking up because of the FOMO that's associated with AI. And what's
Yep.
happening is that, at least from what we're seeing, our fingers on the pulse beyond the clients that we service.
Hmm.
Obviously, like we're in touch with what's happening in the US, UK, Israel, Cyprus. Less so Cyprus. Cyprus is more for a structuring perspective, but um,
Yep.
and what's happening in Australia, and we find that I think there's a lot of FOMO around the opportunity to invest in the right AI embedded startup for Australia, and who's going to be the next kind of unicorn. There could be several, and so VCs are throwing their money around a lot with less. How do I call it?
It's
The,
probably
the due diligence is still there, but with less fear than they were previously.
you're a bit
Uh,
more less risk averse, probably.
Yeah, correct. And so a lot of these startups that have been around and have had good business models are having to reposition themselves to be like, we are an AI play, and then that can create greater opportunity for and appetite for investment. So we're finding that's happening a lot. Number one. Number two, a lot of uh, clients are like they've got really successful businesses and they're then creating another just to address the AI hype at the moment.
Okay.
It's just going to address a single use case, like a very small, narrow use case, and then they're able to get funding, even seed, like just from angel rounds for that side venture where they weren't able to do so for their primary gig, which is
Okay.
healthy on revenue standards. So there's a lot of adoption of tech. There's a lot of people claiming as well to be like brilliant at tech, uh, um, to be AI engineers, and so yeah, we're seeing this, at least from what I'm seeing. There's it's similar to the whole crypto boom, where everyone's claiming to be an expert in crypto, an expert in this investment strategy,
Yep.
and they're just scraping profits every single day. Now we're in the space where everyone's claiming to be like the go-to for creating an agentic model that can be embedded within everyone's companies and will solve everyone's problems. So
Yep.
like I'm super excited about where things are going, and Zed is, I think, at the forefront and cusp of the experimentation that we are playing with when it comes to agentic AI.
Yep.
Um, and I think it's definitely going to be the case where the best and future law firm is going to be 5 gun legal operators or 10 good lawyers or whatever it may be, and then 100 AI agents, like an
Yep.
employment law agent, a commercial agent, an M&A agent, a CX agent, and they are super trained based on legal input training, but then that just increases that scale that we're talking about previously. So yeah,
Yeah.
seeing a lot of
I,
it. Super
I
interesting.
think that approach you're going to see in most businesses in the coming years. Having the people talking about saying we've got the ultimate model now that we can go in and do everything. They're talking out of their ass really. Like it's too early to have 100% workable, reliable model to get to that level.
Yeah,
I'm keeping up with this as much as possible. So just like I started doing a weekly AI news update to the team because I consume so much content to try and stay on top of it because I don't expect them to listen to it.
yeah,
Last week, I was 27 videos and podcasts that I listened to and about 12 hours of content. Like I'm just trying to stay on top of everything. And it's AI everywhere you can think of. You can't put your head in the sand, but you have to just try and ride the wave and understand where it's pivoting because it's changing so fast as well. But it's
Yeah.
definitely going in that direction. 100% agree with you there. Like I think
Yeah,
it's
no,
it's
I'm super excited. Like the generation for my kids, like education can't keep up, and so
no,
I'm just trying to get the kids to understand that hey, this is all like the world's changing at a faster pace than it did when I
yeah,
was growing up, and I think every parent says that to their kids. But this is on steroids, right? The
yeah,
exponential growth of capacity and ability and opportunity is significant as compared to what it was previously, where you still kind of somewhat had to have some degree of qualification or get a degree to be like noticed. Now it's not about that at all. It's just about what can you develop with the tools that exist out there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no, super exciting. There's a lot of opportunity for charlatans out there and a lot of wastage on experimentation, but
hmm
we've seen a lot of companies raise even just on an idea, like zero MVP, zero just concept.
So it's
I
sort
mean,
of rolled back to COVID investments because
it
that's what was
feels like
happening
it
then.
in some respects, but in saying that, it's often the team that inspires the confidence, right? So you got a
Yes, of
team that
course.
are X, like whatever, and then they're like, we have this idea, and so really they're getting funded on the fact that they are. Look, I reckon 60%, 70% of the actual like um emotion behind
hmm
funding is on team anyway.
Yeah. Oh, it has to be. You got to believe that they have the conviction behind their idea, and they're the ones that can deliver it. The other thing I find to be funny is that as soon as you say X Atlassian, X Google, X whatever, people's eyes light up. But you don't actually know what that person was doing there. Were they actually an important part of the team? Were they a vital cog? Did they invent something, or have they been an intern for 3 months and now that's their calling card?
Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of that. And the more sophisticated investors will look behind and go, well, was this person punching tickets or were they actually solving problems
Yeah.
and like an engineer behind a particular? Yeah, I think that, but yeah, I think look, in the end, this is all a competition for the limelight, and where anyone can say X this, X that, or I'm a founder of ABC. This is the world we live in.
Of
Unfortunately,
course.
it's very much one of okay, look at me, I'm more important than the person next to me. Allocate your time and resources.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
And
that's a whole other conversation, but yeah,
yeah,
it's interesting.
it's
Yeah,
definitely happening. So in Silicon Valley with some of the news, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's the really good AI engineers that are like the PhDs in AI and they're backing things. $100 million bonuses, sign-ups, and salaries they're getting now. So you're talking about
yeah,
like
that's
soccer
a lot
level
of
transfers
that's
for
a meta.
for an AI engineer in Silicon Valley.
I mean, I haven't looked into it, but I don't think it is a full lump sum. It's like
I know it's all in bonus and shares
yeah,
and
shares,
stock,
and it may not
but
even yeah,
that's unprecedented. That's like all right, Cristiano Ronaldo getting transferred to a different team. Like that's that level of
yeah,
money that they're talking about. But
yeah,
that's got because they're trying to get the best talent, like similar to what you would be in your firm. You're trying to find the best talent that's going to be able to go along with your vision, drive, and work with the clients that you're bringing in and try and deliver them the best value.
yeah,
Just on the AI agent and the sort of law firm, have you heard of the Harvey AI? I'm sure you
yeah,
probably
very
have.
much. So, really good friend of mine. She was we were very close at uni, still remain close. She went down the litigation route. I've had my journey, and she's Australian, but she's left to the US and joined Harvey. And she's the one that cracked open the Australian
Okay.
uh, like demand for Harvey, at
Yep.
least to the extent that it is now. And she might be the one that leads APAC in
Yep.
future. So that Harvey's opening up in September. But the fact that Harvey, in the space of like a year, has raised three separate occasions and done that to its valuation on the basis of future like
Yeah.
demand
Future earnings.
is incredible. Like
Yep.
actually insane. It just shows that legal tech in I guess legal tech for the top market. So these are for firms that want to be able to exploit time saving AI um, to do things that swathes of paralegals and junior lawyers would otherwise do
Mhm.
is yeah pretty telling. And I think that that's where the future of AI is going to really focus because if you can crack open these large businesses inbuilt inefficiencies to benefit large clients to be able to do more work for less labor power or labor cost, then that's really where the investment's going to land. Yeah, it's crazy. And then there's another one called Crosby AI, which is again, at least from my knowledge, it's like pre-product, but
Okay.
it is been funded by Sequoia. I think 6 mil initial
Well,
early
okay.
rounds, is a lot for a seed.
Yeah.
Sequoia is a huge player, and they are, positioning themselves to be an AI, basically a hybrid law firm, right? AI
Yep.
and human law firm, which is
Okay.
super interesting because that's what Zed's doing. So, like, in the sense that Zed's partnered with and invested in a company called Verity,
Yep.
VERATY.ai, and Verity's platform and what it does and is um, effectively allowing people to use AI first to get
Yep.
their answers to 75% conviction, and then clicking a button and getting a human to verify if they want a human to verify.
Yep.
I think 75% of most businesses' legal needs can be solved without a human anyway. And so the fact that you're using an AI platform, which is more performative than using ChatGPT off the shelf, and it remembers your data and has your ecosystem in mind, I think you'd love the platform. It'd
Yeah.
be,
I'll check it out.
I think you'd love it.
Because
That allows people to then solve most of their problems, and then only click a button to have a lawyer review if they need it.
and that approach is exactly what I've been telling people for 2 years.
Yeah,
ChatGPT can do anything for anyone. You need a niche thing that understands what you're doing. But the difference is it's not just having the AI tell you something. You have to review it. You can't just use it as is. So even we've built our own DevReady AI platform. So our consulting process to plan
yeah,
product has turned into an AI assisted consulting process. And I'm in this tool every day designing our systems. But it's get the AI to draft something, put information, draft it, expand it, now review and fix the gaps. Big time saving is just working through that and trying to understand how to work with AI properly, which is what you're doing. And that approach is the only way it's going to work for
yeah,
now, until
yeah,
it gets to a point where you can then have 100% conviction that it's going to do the right thing, which it will get there at some point, no doubt.
yeah. Well, my view on this is, again, so I don't know why it's controversial, but it's definitely controversial in the legal industry. I think less so outside of it. The legal industry is very, don't want to be too antagonized. It's very old school, and it's thinking and tries to protect its turf.
Yeah.
But my view is this: out of, let's say, 1,000 lawyers, take them out on average, not 1,000 lawyers from top tier law firms. I'm saying 1,000 lawyers across a sampling of lawyers in Australia.
Yep.
They'll be plot against a bell curve, and you'd have the standard deviation, which would be average lawyers, and you have this, two standard deviations up, which would be absolutely incredible lawyers who are just impressive as, and then you have
Hmm.
two standard deviations below who are like, they're just negligent and pretty much everything they do is use templates and they're shit. And you have this bell curve, right?
Yep.
My view is, if you take 1,000 pieces of advice or I don't know, work product or deliverables, and you compare that to 1,000 deliverables generated by AI, let's say Claude or Anthropic, or and then compare on that bell curve. My view is that the bell curve from AI will be slightly shifted to the right in terms of performance than the human bell curve. So I think
Yep.
that, like, AI currently still is on average better than the average out there by virtue.
Yep.
Now, there are still issues, errors, hallucination. I've seen it firsthand. Like, it's making shit up in front of me. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
This is not in the document at all. But in saying that, paralegals and other, junior lawyers without the experience make mistakes too. And I think that's what I'm talking about, the bell curve. There's juniors, there's
Yep.
seniors, there's experts, there's otherwise. So yeah, I think inevitably we'll be at the position where it's like uncontroversial that AI is going to perform better than humans on 85 to 90% of the occasion. Even some of my clients now, um, they're using AI as a diagnostic tool to determine the presence or otherwise of cancers across scans. And so
Hmm.
you get the model that's been trained on hundreds and thousands of scans,
Yep.
to determine whether or not a tumor is in fact cancerous or otherwise. It's 94% accurate.
Yeah, that's
Human,
more accurate than humans.
yeah, humans are around 91, and so um, at least on first initial scan
Yep.
review. So we're seeing that already in other industries. It's just going to take some time before we see that in legal.
Yeah, and then it's just the adoption as well, because you're going to get the people that are forward thinking at the edge like yourself, who will adopt it and take it on board. You get the laggards that'll just get left behind, and that's what happens in every tech cycle.
Yeah, that's true.
So, with how invested you are and you're in the AI space and on the pulse, what's your take? I'm just curious on how AI is going to affect sort of like those junior lawyers then that are coming in, or the assistants, the paralegals, however you want to work, and in that group, with getting enough experience to do the right thing. Because I'm not sure how I take it in sort of the tech space and the development space.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it was a question that was posed at a legal conference in mid-July, mid-June. My view is that it's silly to think that junior lawyers will not default and defer to AI to get the initial thing done in a way which I couldn't when I was younger.
Yep.
And so instead of the legal industry saying, junior lawyers, you must learn how to draft this thing, or you must learn how to do the research here and do it yourself in the way that we used to, I don't think there's much point. That's trying to force us to use an anachronistic model in a very fast future tech-enabled world. I think what needs to happen is the legal industry, junior lawyers will still be needed,
Yep.
but the legal industry will be one of, okay, these are the tools. We want you to become experts at using these tools. To be able to get the 75% position, then this is the process in which you have to adopt to verify that information. Before you provide it to your senior associate or your senior lawyer to review, you have to make sure that the output that you've generated using these tools, because you're probably better at using it than we are, is validated and vetted prior to you handing it up to your superior. And it's never actually one that's sent out to clients before that occurs. So I
Yep.
think that's the way things will occur in the future. In saying that, I think we are seeing a trend where there'll be less of a demand from large law firms to onboard like 50 new junior lawyers in clerkship processes. I think it'll be
Okay.
like
So that'll
shaved.
change.
Yeah, I think there'll be some reduction there, because you can have non-legal staff perform some of that work, because when you're a non-admitted junior lawyer, you can't verify or validate it in any event. It just needs to go to a senior.
Yep.
But look, in the end, I think human labor is always going to be there. There's always a need. Courts, for example, and court processes are always going to be the last to adopt and endorse an AI agentic model, because it's like people's rights being litigated.
Yep.
And there are practice notes that have been released by the New South Wales courts basically saying that if you have used AI, you have to make a declaration that there's been assistant help here.
Yep.
And courts don't look favorably upon it. So I think it's not going to completely eliminate the need to hire juniors. But for example, Z Law and our practice, we just don't think we need juniors because the AI can do most of the tools for us. So we don't have any
Yep.
juniors in the firm. We have one paralegal and she's great. And she's like, she's able to help us on matters on demand in a way which you need to prompt AI to do it for you. So it's just better just to have a human and help. And, she's also an investment that we're making into the future for Z. And
Yep.
I think most firms look at it that way, but we don't need junior lawyers.
And from our end, as in the tech space and development side, it can write good code, but you still need to be able to review it. So those junior programmers, I think what they lose out on is the experience of learning how to solve problems a bit.
Yeah,
But the way they're going to solve them is different now. They're going to be talking to the ChatGPT. They're not going to be going to what we will do is Stack Overflow, see what other developers have suggested, try and pick a solution. It's ChatGPT, give me a solution or whatever the
yeah,
tool is.
that's
But then
super.
for
There's
sorry,
actually
go.
research on this right now where the use of these models has actually affected brain capacity to problem solve.
Yeah, I
Um,
had someone on the podcast last week mention that if you're using it to do your planning, that's when it really decreases.
yeah, super. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My sister actually got an article out on Sydney Morning Herald on this exact topic
Okay.
about a week ago. But yeah, it's super interesting. So I think like the way in which humans like use creativity to solve a problem is being affected for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because as soon as you start offloading your capacity, you start the brain's like a muscle. Yes, so the less you use it, the less capacity you have to use it at its maximum to be able to get the results that you're after and be creative and join those dots. I think for people like us, it's you're always trying to learn and crave new information. That's how it seems like you are. So it's you will have that drive, but there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be affected because they don't think like that. If I can offload something, I'd rather be lazy, and that's not the approach.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think yeah, and there's also the counter to that, which is like the Gen Zs coming into market now, who they're like, well, if I can do stuff without my brain being used at all and make money from it, then that's the smart play. And so I think there's even a cultural divide occurring at the moment where Gen Zs coming in like, why would I stick around at a job? And I get it because one of the I guess primary motivations to sticking around at a job is to prove income
Mhm.
oftentimes for serviceability to buy a house, which they're like, well, I'm priced out of this market anyway, and I think buying a house is a dumb investment. And so they're just like, well, I can make a lot of money and be cash positive by virtue of building a bunch of micro businesses or businesses using AI, where I don't need to stay in a job and say yes to the man, right, all the time, right?
Yeah,
A super interesting cultural divide occurring as well with that's being enabled by tech.
especially if you think of the opposite side on the Gen X and Boomers and how they grew up with none of that, and it's all about that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's it's going to be interesting where everything's going. Any thoughts before we wrap up about how you should sort of be approaching this side, or anything to do with in your space that you want to let
Look, I
everyone know?
think, like, look, similar to what you do, I think it's just like keep finger on the pulse and always be ready. I'm talking like every quarter, change your approach, review your strategy, you know, like put testers and feelers out in the market and adjust your values or values probably need to be less changed every quarter. But I think adjust your strategy and your offering that you make to the market and to the people that you work with, because I think it's unless you're these big inflexible industry players, the people in our space and in
Mhm.
our mid and small SME type space need to be extremely nimble and willing to change on very early market data to suggest
Yep.
that we should be. Um, yeah, so I think, yeah, I'm excited for the future. Like, we're investing heavily in the space, and I'd love to talk to you more about what we can do together to make that a reality
Yeah.
for both our partners.
Oh, definitely happy to talk about that in time. And yeah, for those of you that are looking at that stuff, like if you're not doing that quarterly review, the tech will move so fast that you'll either be forced or you'll be left behind. So you're going to have to do it. It's not something that's optional anymore, I believe.
100%.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, Ryan, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much for your time today. And there's been an interesting chat. I haven't spoken to anyone in the legal space about AI, and it was eye opening. If anyone wants to reach out and find out more about yourself and Zed, how can they do that?
Just go to z.law, z.law, and you'll find a way to get in touch.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks again, and thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.